This is the interview I never wanted to do. Okay, I never wanted to be sitting across from you saying, well, this is it. You're wrapping it up, but you're wrapping it up.
This is it. We got a few more games, get into the playoffs, try to do what we can. But there's some young people that need to move up now. They are. You know, you reach 71 years old. Okay, you have to look in the mirror and be honest and move out of the way. It's time for some of these other guys to have their chance. So that's what we're going to do.
So, you were a student at St. Ignatius. You were an athlete at St. Ignatius. You were a teacher at St. Ignatius. You're a coach at St. Ignatius. What made it St. Ignatius? What made it such a perfect fit for you?
Oh my! Well, okay. I'm the youngest of four boys. Three older brothers went to St. Ignatius High School. Okay, so all through the '60s, right through, there was a Kyle boy at St. Ignatius High School. So at the age of 9 years old, I knew the alma mater already and the fight song. I remember going to Ignatius, played Parma, Byers Field, and Ignatius lost the game. Russ Jakes was the quarterback for Parma.
Wow.
Mike Hegan was running back for St. Ignatius. How about that?
Wow.
And I'm in the crowd going, I hope they win. You know, I was just a little kid doing that. But yeah, so I was hooked. That's the way it worked. And it just... went there, played, went to John Carroll, and there was an English job opening, and okay, here we go. I'm coming back to Ignatius and get a chance to coach. I had no visions of grandeur at all. I was just going to teach English and run around. I had energy and wanted to keep coaching, and so that happened. And in fact, I'll tell you very quickly, I walk in to sign my English contract, about $5,000 a year. I thought, well, this girl's going to really want to marry me. I'm a rich man. Wow. You know, so I walk in, and I'm walking by the gym, and John Wirtz, who coached me, was the athletic director, is walking up those stairs right by the gym, and he looks up and he goes, Chico, you ran track when you were here, didn't you? And I said, well, yes, sir, I did. Do you want to be the head track coach? Oh, yes, sir. I always said yes, sir, to him. I mean, he was the coach. So I was the head track coach for 48 years. Wow. That was the big interview for me to become the head track coach at St. Ignatius.
Hey, when you say, hey, there was this English teacher job, isn't that how Rockney got going? There was a chemistry job open at Rockney.
Well, there you go.
And there it is.
See, it's not bad to be a teacher, I guess. You know, John Wooten was an English teacher and goes on to do what he did. But I always just wanted to, honestly, teach English and do some coaching. Well, there are opportunities to maybe interview for colleges and things like that. Yeah. And I hope you understand what I'm going to say. I never looked at this as a career. I just didn't. You know, careers, you kind of bounce around and you do that sort of thing. I looked at this as a vocation. And to me, a vocation is in here. You know, I wanted to teach, I wanted to coach, and I wanted to do this at St. Ignatius. This is where I felt so comfortable. And for me, it was a vocation. How's that?
When you were a player there and you were playing football there, what was it like being a football player at that time in Cleveland for St. Ignatius? Because, I mean, I have those visions and those pictures and those old newspaper clippings, of the charity game down at the stadium. What was it all like?
Well, the Senate was a very strong league. Back then, it was the city league. The suburbs were getting there, definitely, getting better and better and better. But there was that tradition of the Senate, and that goes all the way back to the early 1900s. And the winner of the East Senate would play the winner of the West Senate at the charity game on Thanksgiving morning, and there would be huge crowds there, 40,000 people. That would be just a Cleveland tradition to go see the charity game on Thanksgiving morning. You do your football thing, and Thanksgiving dinner afterwards, and that was just, boy, it was so. There was this big desire to make it to, hey, what do you say? We'll be there on Turkey Day. That was the cheer for every one of those teams. And junior and senior year, I was out at Municipal Stadium at the time.
Yeah.
And so as a junior, I didn't get in the charity game because the guy in front of me was Frank Gussick, who was Bo Schembechler's one of Bo Schembechler's captains in Michigan, so he was pretty good, So I backed him up. So I wasn't going to get in, right? But the following year, I did play, and was able to score a touchdown at the, the end of this stadium by the lake, okay? I put one in there, so that was a great memory.
Wow.
Muddy day, though, really muddy.
Well, that's the way it should be. Thanksgiving morning,
Right.
I mean, on that kind of thing. Okay, so how do you become the Ignatius head football coach? How does that happen? Was it Al Gizzi before you?
Right. Al was before me, good friend, and I was an assistant, and when Al became the head coach, he wanted me to be the defensive coordinator. Honored to do that. That sounds great. And so by that, you step up just like any level.
Yeah.
You're a position coach, and then your next thing is to be a coordinator, and then, okay, maybe, who knows, maybe you move up to be a head coach. Not that I was picturing that, but I just, at that point, it was a great challenge to be the coordinator of something. Really, you're putting everything together. Mm-hmm. And I took it very seriously, and defensively, we played well. We played really well. And so that was, people recognized that, I think. And it came to the point where the job was open for a head coach, and you're at that point where I've already been an assistant for 11 years. Time for the younger guys to step up, right? So put my name in the pot there to see if I could get it. And it was great because I walked into the room for the interview, and I look up, and there's John Wirtz. He's on the crew, right? And then I look over, and there's a fellow teacher on there that I know really well. I'm going, okay, I got a chance here. This is going to be good, right? So it worked out well.
Now, before all the state championships, how was that going?
Well, a few years before I became coach, we got out of the Senate and started playing an independent schedule. That's a big jump in retrospect. That is a big jump because you were playing Youngstown, Cardinal, Moody. You're playing all these already established football powers, and it was a battle to get to that level. I thought defensively. And typically, defensively is where you can move up a little earlier than offense. And we were hanging in the games. We were there. We just couldn't quite get that extra touchdown at times. But we were getting close. And then I became head coach. And Nick Restifo, assistant coach, the day I was named head coach, I walked out of that office, walked up 2 flights of stairs. He was in his room. He teaches Spanish. And I go, hey, you want to be the offensive coordinator? And he became the first offensive coordinator in the history of St. Ignatius when I offered that. And so both of us started working together. And we came up with this idea. We're in the state of Woody Hayes. And, there's the hashes, and you pound away 3 yards in a cloud of mud or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And okay, that was kind of Ohio football. And we felt we had to be a little different. Let's throw the ball a little bit more than what people typically do. It's a fun game. But people would say, well, in Cleveland weather, can you do that? And we just felt, well, yes, you can, because I always looked at maybe the ball gets a little muddy, but maybe we can afford 3 or 4 game balls, okay, and actually have a dry one. But besides that, if I'm the receiver and I know where I'm cutting and you're the DB and you don't know where I'm cutting and it's muddy, I could make a big play on you, right. And that's kind of what we thought we could do. So Nick went down to visit Miami of Florida, and there's Bernie Kosar throwing the ball around, and Jimmy Johnson and all those guys, and so we learned a little bit from them and brought it up to Cleveland, Ohio, and started throwing the ball around a little bit more.
Yeah, that's right. That's what you became known for. Yeah. Really, being able to throw the football. So the first year that you win the state championship, what a team! Right. I mean, what a team! Undefeated, rolling through the regular season. But you have a lot of great players. You got the great quarterback in Joe Pickens. You got Trent Zenkowitz. Mm-hmm. Am I correct? You got Mike Buddy, who was an incredible athlete, a wrestling state champ, tough, hard-nosed football player for you, great baseball player with the Yankees, into the Yankees. I mean, Kareem Ingram comes up with that big play on the goal line stand down in Ohio. Did you know that you were ready that year? Going into that year, did you say, okay, we throw the ball now, but we got it all. I think we got it.
It's amazing you remember all those names. That's pretty good. That is really good. Okay. I mean this honestly, they finished their junior year, well, for Joe and those guys, they were sophomores becoming juniors. So, and then there was a senior group that were very good, it's Mike Buddy and all those guys. And this is a true story. I would meet with every player individually in my office, 10 minutes, just to go, hey, this is what you need to work on, and so on like that. And I mean this sincerely. Those kids walked in, and we talked, and then they looked at me. And I don't know if they met before, and they looked almost to the man and said, Coach, we could win the state championship. And I try not to be stupid, You sit there and you don't go, what are you talking about? Are you kidding? No, you go, yes, we can. Yes, we can. You're right, we can. You got to build that a little bit. And they lived up to it. It was a hard road, but they lived up to it, And so it was an adventure because we'd never been in the playoffs before. And so that was amazing.
Now, as I remember, a big school, a Division I school, a big Division I Cleveland school had never been able to win the state championship.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So you go down there that day. You were very, very kind. You allowed us to come into your locker room. We stuck a camera guy in the corner of the locker room.
Right.
It was like a movie, okay? There's sun pouring through at a perfect time of the afternoon. It's a Sunday afternoon. The sun's coming through those windows. Your team is sitting around you on these benches, and you deliver, I think, the speech of your life, all right? I can remember the whole thing, but I remember you saying, your next play, the next play you make is going to be the greatest play you ever make. And then you did the B State champions. Did you have that ready?
Oh, I never write those. I do have to say, I give Walt Whitman credit for the first few lines. I have to admit that because I said, you celebrate yourself today. You celebrate yourself. Well, that's Walt Whitman, song of myself, okay? Okay. But being an English teacher, you do come up with some interesting ideas from various plays from Shakespeare and poems and so on like that. But I've never written one. I just, you walk in and the main thing I always thought about pregame speeches is simply this. To me, those were not motivation, honestly. If you're not motivated 3 minutes before the state championship game, something's wrong with you. I mean, you are motivated to play that game. You know what I always worried about is they're boys. They're just kids. And couldn't you imagine the nervousness that they're going through?
Yeah.
And here you are at your Ohio State Stadium, and you look out, and there's thousands and thousands of people, and you're, you could see it in the eyes, oh my,
You could.
Oh,
You could look around
Sure
the faces.
Yeah.
I mean, but you were really family.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I've always appreciated that they trusted me. That's the greatest gift you could give a coach, is that you trust them. But I just wanted to make sure that they felt like they were the best football player in the state of Ohio. And, when you were a little kid and you're out in the backyard and you throw a ball up in the air and you catch it and you run around, just be that kid, okay? Go out there and do that. Yeah. Be that kind of player. That's all. They have to walk out of there going, here we go, let's go play.
It was a low-scoring game.
Right.
Mike Buddy hits a big, big play. We had you mic'd, and you were racing down. You were running down the sideline with him saying, he's gone, he's gone.
My voice went up.
It was a little higher.
Yeah, it was a little higher up.
How tight were you when they've got the ball at the, 1, 2, in their first and goal, and you have to make 4 stops to win the state title, or you're in Heartbreak City?
Right. What I remember is, they're the returning state champions. They're pretty darn good, and the quarterback was All-State. The running back, 6 months later, the running back was the Division I state champion in the 100-meter dash. Mm-hmm. So he had a little speed, and he was very good. And they're just making some very good plays. And they called 2 timeouts and decided to go for it, but they wasted all their timeouts. Thank God they did that. And so they get the first down, and it was that far away. I mean, your cameras caught it. I didn't realize it until your cameras got it.
It was incredibly close.
I thought it was on the 1.
Yeah.
They lied to me up there. Oh, it's on the 1, coach. No, it isn't. It's right here.
It's
okay.
not.
But anyway, I look back strategically, and it dawned on me after all is said and done, in the previous playoff games, we never had our goal line defense on film. We were never on the goal line. So what ended up happening, we were in like a 7-man line, not your typical 6-5 goal line. We were in a 7. And honestly, I don't think they realized that we were going to be in that. So they call a play, and we hit them they're back on the 3 or 4 yard line, and okay. And the clock's moving, and they don't have any timeouts left.
Right.
And you're like, okay. Now, what crosses your mind a little bit is, do I call a timeout? Thinking that, well, they're going to probably score and we need at least some time to go down.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, nah. Let them do it. I don't want to be the guy getting all, I'm going to do something, a big coaching moment. No, fellas, you said you're going to win it, go win it. Just do it.
Yeah.
And they did.
They did. Yeah. The linebacker Ingram made a great play on the last play, and that was it. Right. What was that like then? Your state champs?
Oh, my.
Those kids that had walked in and told you,
right.
hey, we can win the state championship. And you said, yeah, you can. Now you did.
All right. Well, it was pretty dramatic.
It really was.
Yeah, it was very dramatic. And I had to thank the fans. They give you this thing. Do you mind if I say something? Sure. Thank you. You've been wonderful. There's so much energy.
Yeah.
So, okay, we finally get all those kids back in the locker room, and everybody's doing interviews, and we do have to get back to Cleveland gradually. Well, sure enough, I don't know if people know this, the bus had a flat tire.
Wow.
We go out to load the bus up, and flat tire. So, they got to call, and we got to find somebody to come fix the flat tire. So we were there, certainly an extra hour, just sitting around. And finally, they get the tire fixed. And I do remember this too. Okay, so if you're familiar with Ohio State Stadium, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you pull out, you go on that road, and you start going down. And the varsity club, the bar?
Yeah.
The varsity club. I'm sitting with a bunch of 17, 18-year-old boys, and we make that turn, and there's the varsity club, and I look, and it's all Ignatius alumni.
Wow.
Out the door, onto the street, and I'm sitting there going, I bet you I wouldn't have to buy a beer in there all night, But I'm with a bunch of 18-year-old boys heading back. Okay. Here we go.
You guys okay in here? I'm going to hop out.
Yeah, those are some of the weird things you remember.
How about when you came back to
Right.
How about when you came back to
yeah.
Cleveland, though, and you came back to Ignatius,
Right.
and you walk into that gym?
Right. Well, before, okay, there's the bus. We got off at Ontario and came across the bridge, so the bus would be on the north side of the road. And we got a police escort.
That's right.
That was really neat. I thought they were going to pull us over, but no, here we go. So anyway, we come across, and you can picture Lorraine Road there. It was a sea of people. I mean, it was a sea of people. No car could go through. The cars would have to turn around and go back. And it was just, wow, just a shock of that amazing thing. So we get off, and then they had nothing planned, and so okay, they're going to go over open the gym or no, the student center at that one. Yeah, it was the student center. And I do have to tell you an interesting story. God, I don't mean to do this.
No, this is why we're here.
Yeah, okay. So, honestly, the first inkling I ever had to be a coach was in 8th grade when I was in the CYO City Championship with Holy Family Parma, right?
Yeah.
And we're playing in the city championship game. Well, on that Monday before the game, for some reason, the head coach comes up to me, and I'm 8th grade, and he goes, hey, you're going to call the defensive calls this week. And I thought he would, they signal, I make the call in the huddle and go. And I said, okay, well, I know all the signals. He goes, no, we're not signaling anything. You're going to make the decisions on what defense we're going to go. Mm. And I never got the reason why. I really didn't. I just have come to the conclusion that they didn't want to signal because the guy that was across the field would pick up the signals and pretty soon know what we were doing.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to signal. So they trained me all week to, okay, if it's 1st and 10, you call this. If it's 2nd and 6, you called it. And okay, I got it. And so here I am out in the game, and I'm making decisions like that. And we did shut them out, so okay, there you go. But I found that fascinating. That was, and so the night we win the state championship, so we're back there, kids are they're in the locker room, and I look up and I see in the window, there he is. Wow. Coach, my grade school coach. And I run up on the door, oh, God.
That's amazing.
All I could say was thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I could say.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I don't know if you know this. I'll give you a minute here. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but the day you win the state championship, the Browns are at home. They're playing the Dallas Cowboys. 78,000 people down there. They're having a rough day. It was the Cowboys. I mean, Troy Aikman and everything. And it's and all of a sudden over the PA, they announce St. Ignatius has just won the state championship. And the place went nuts. It was the loudest cheer of the day.
I did hear somebody say it was.
Place went crazy.
Went crazy.
Yeah.
What a compliment that was. That's nice.
The other thing that struck me, and we go through video of that day, was there was a kid that grabbed you, just sobbing and thanking you. Do you remember that kid?
Oh,
Do you remember that moment?
Sure. Young man, Mark McCain. Mark goes on to play at Yale University. Started, I think, 3 or 4 years at Yale University. He's a lawyer in San Francisco now and doing really well, so we stay in contact. But they go on
incredible.
after Ignatius. They go on. And some keep playing, some don't, but,
Okay, you got one. Did you ever think that they would start flowing the way it did? I mean, the program took off. Everybody wanted to go there. Everybody wanted to be the quarterback at Ignatius. Because of the way you played, everybody wanted to throw the ball. And then they started, 1 became 2 and 2 became 4 and all the way up to 11.
Well, we had guys coming back for the second year, Joe Pickens, a lot of...
Which ends up as a national title?
Right, and that was, beyond, that was really a challenge. It was USA Today newspaper. Right. They would have a national ranking. And partway through the summer, you get the phone call, and this guy goes, Coach, you got guys back, and, what do you think? What do you think about how your team's going to be? Well, it dawns on you, and a number of coaches who've had that experience called me after that. Tom McDaniels called me, and several others, going, what do you say to those when they ask that? And you just go ahead and say, yes, we're very good. You rank us because we're very good. Yeah. And I know that I'm not a typical guy to do that.
You're not, no.
But if you don't say that, they'll rank you 10th or something, or 11th, right?
Right.
But if you have to say, yes, we're very good. You should rank us very highly. So I didn't realize they were going to go number 1. I thought, on top. So we're number 1. We haven't played a game yet. And to win the state championship in Ohio, you got to go 14 games. But so there's a little bit of pressure, that we accepted. But you have to say that to be ranked that high. Mm-hmm. And Tom McDaniels called me before they were ranked number 1, and he goes, just go ahead and tell them, Tom, that you're very good. If you lose, you lose, but you got to take your chance. You got a chance at this to do it. So go ahead and take your chance.
So when you started winning like that, was there pressure? Did you feel pressure?
Oh, I'm a human being.
Because you were in big game. I mean, you were everybody's big game.
Right. And I'd have to say yes. But I also would have to say I always had to go back to why I like to coach. And why did I like to coach? I just like to show kids how to do something and help them in their technique. I've always loved that. And to start worrying about, we got to win this game. Well, I just always thought, if I improve their technique, we'll have a chance to win. And that's what you enjoy about coaching. And I encourage youth coaches to always think that way. You don't have to don't worry about your one-loss record. Take great pleasure in watching a young kid who comes to you and you're teaching him some technique, whatever position he is, and you're starting to see the kid do it. Mm-hmm. That's what it's all. That's fun. That's so much fun. Mm-hmm. So I remember just talking to myself, going, you don't have to worry all that. Enjoy teaching and coaching these kids and seeing them get better. That's where that's what you can control more than anything.
Was every team unique?
Oh yeah,
They were unique.
yeah. I always, I don't know. I know I've said several times that I always think a football season is like writing a novel. Every game's a chapter, and then there's a story, and there's characters involved, and things are good, and then things get in trouble, and it weaves its way through. I always thought it was like that, because there could be a happy ending, there could be a disappointing ending, a realistic ending, but there's a chapter.
Yeah.
Each chapter is a new adventure.
So what was it like, because as I said, there was a point where, there were kids that would go to Ignatius, and through their years, they would never have experienced a loss. There were kids that went to Ignatius that every year their football team won the state championship, which is unbelievable. What was it like when you well, I'll bring up a couple of games. I mean, when you'd go into the Eds games all the time, which were big games.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, big games, incredible games, triple overtime, unbelievable games. What was that like going into those games? And you're always the favorite.
Well, truly a realization, and mentioned this before, that you can lose to any of these teams, first of all, because they spent 365 days, previous days, getting ready for you.
Yeah.
They didn't just wait for the day before. And so there's that realization that you're going to get their best. They're going to come after you. So, and there'd be special emotion because the idea of rivalry, right, would be connected with that. So there's going to be more emotion with that. But in a way, you kind of, you can't wait till the whistle blows and the game starts, to be honest with you. There's so much before those games to what if they do this, what if they do that, and you're human, so the adrenaline's flowing and that sort of thing. Finally, they blow the whistle, and then there's a kickoff. Thank God, let's go. Now let's start doing the thing, coaching and playing. So once that starts happening, everything's good. Let's go.
Why were your team so composed? Because they were in these big games. Let me point out one. It was the day after Thanksgiving one year. It was a Friday. You're playing Massillon down at the Rubber Bowl, and it is packed. I mean, Ignatius traveled well, but Massillon took attendance that you were not supposed to be in Massillon on that night. You're supposed to be in the Rubber Bowl. What was that? And yet your team came out of there. They were so composed, and yet the game went down right to the final tick. Right.
Oh.
Is it because they were so ready during the week?
Well, one would hope that they realized how important preparation is. That's how you gain confidence with your preparation. But then you just have to have faith that when the whistle blows, we're going to get it done. Just have faith. Things will work out. Let's go. I think you can ask anybody. I've always believed that the pillars of what our program needs to be is to learn how to prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually for any challenge you get your whole life. I didn't say football games. I say for your whole life. Right. And where are you going to learn that? You're going to learn it right here in this program, that you're going to prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually for your challenges. You'll have bigger challenges in life. Just remember that formula and you'll be okay. Yeah. So that's kind of, by doing that, I think we could take a deep breath and go, okay, we're prepared as best we can, so let's go. And that football is designed in a very crazy way. Almost every other sport has a round ball. And if I bounce a round ball, I can pretty much physics-wise figure where that ball is going to go. Throw a football on the ground and guess where that one's going to go. Right. You don't know. It's got the edges and it bounces all over the place. Yeah. And it could bounce your way, but it could bounce that guy's way and you live with it. So, but you have confidence enough that at least we'll be there.
Yeah. I've watched those onside kicks a couple of weeks here. You're right. Let me ask you this. You had Ignatius. There was a magic about Ignatius, and I would assume it's still there. But there's a magic about Ignatius, the whole atmosphere there. But it was translated to me was when you would be getting ready, usually for a state semifinal or maybe even a state championship game, and it would be over the Thanksgiving holiday, and you'd be practicing over at Lakewood Stadium, and all of those kids that played for you would come back and ring the field and kind of offer tips to the
They
current
talk
to the
kids,
current
yeah.
kids that say, hey, listen,
They
when
would
you go
talk
down
to
there, the crowd's going to be loud.
Right.
And that was pretty.
Yeah.
That's unique.
Yeah.
That wasn't by invitation,
No,
was it?
They just knew. If we make it to Thanksgiving, we're still playing at Thanksgiving. Well, Thanksgiving morning, we're going to have practice at 10 o'clock. The last few times that happened, I was told that we were going to have practice at 10 o'clock. Hey, coach, it's all over. You're going to have practice at 10 o'clock. Oh, okay. Because the those players were already made plans to do that. So, and you're right, hundreds of past players would be there.
I mean, it was a who's who, right, of Ignatius football.
They'd be there.
Yeah. So they walk away from Ignatius. Some of them go on. They go on. Some of them go on. They play big. They play in college. Some have gone on and played in the NFL.
Right.
But a lot of them have gone on and, I know you're proud of this, that they're good people and they've made a good living and they've had families and they're doctors and lawyers, or you have a congressman.
Right.
Is that the proudest part of it?
Yes. Right. There's such a thing as God-given talent, right? There's 5 foot 8.5 inch running backs. Great, but you're not. Where are you going? There's a limit to how far you're going to go and where you're going to go. But maybe you learned a few things. Because I just firmly believe the football field is a great classroom. It's a fantastic classroom. I fear that's starting to get lost in the NIL world and all those sort of things.
I agree with you.
Money starts flying around. And what a shame, because the football field's a great classroom. You can ask people that played years and years ago. They learned how to work together with other people, right? They learned how, when it gets tough, that they learned a work ethic and setting goals. We could go on for how many characteristics do you want to talk about that the game of football can teach you? It's amazing. You're on the field and you're dead tired and and you got to make this drive and you look to your left and you look to your right and you go, I'm not letting these guys down. I got to do it.
Yeah.
I could talk about that in English class for hours, but come on out to this football field and figure out, learn what that is. It's just a tremendous classroom. I hope we never lose that. It's an important educational environment.
Yeah. Did you teach? Was it embedded in your players? They played with so much class, and that's a compliment to you. But let me elaborate, okay? They never hot dogged it out on the field. They handed the ball to a referee. Good play, bad play, touchdown, interception, whatever. They came out on the field. They were dressed properly. They lined up the right way. They shook hands well in the line after the game, mostly as winners, sometimes as losers.
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes as losers.
Oh, yeah.
But I was wondering, that was from 1 to however many kids you dressed.
Right.
How did that get in them?
Well, I hope that, let's give credit to parents. I think that raise your son to realize there's that part of life. There's winning, there's losing, but being classy the way you do it. But I also hope that all coaches realize that I don't care what age the kid's playing, their eyes are on you, coach. They're watching you.
Yeah.
They're watching you. And the game of football is an emotional roller coaster. We can tell that when you announce a game, by the way. It's an emotional roller coaster. Okay.
I'm a mess.
No. But you handle it. Is
Yeah.
the coach handling it? The coach is handling it. Okay, then we better handle it. Okay? And officials this year, a lot of them just going, hey, I don't have another game with you. And they go, thank you. They're telling me thank you.
Yeah.
What's that? Right?
That's cool.
They go, thank you, because it was such, whatever, the way it worked. And I take that as a huge compliment. And I thank them because we don't have this game without the officials. Yeah. And it's so easy to get mad at calls and, lose it. The only, I've never seen an official go, oh, you're right, I'm going to pick that flag up. They never do that. So what are you doing? Yeah. The only thing I ever thought was I'd go, wow, I sure hope I see that on the films tomorrow morning. Yeah. I don't know, but that's about as I don't know, questioning I do. Because come on, they can make mistakes too, and let's live with it.
But you had to be very proud of them. Like,
Yes.
would you step back and say, hey,
Yeah.
this is the way it should be done?
Yeah, I do. I'm just in that vein.
Yeah.
I am so proud that I go around and see some youth CYO games, and with the Browns, I'm able to see some other youth things because I'm helping them with youth. And so many of our ex-players are coaching football at the youth level. I am so thrilled about that.
Wow.
Amazing.
Do you remember those Robert Smith games?
Oh yeah.
Those were.
Oh yeah.
I mean, those were. I think,
Yeah.
Coach, I think that was might have been the first nationally televised
Yes, it was.
high school football game.
Yes, it was.
Lakewood Stadium on Sports Channel America.
Right.
But the game I remember is the playoff game where he came out, Robert Smith, the Gatorade Player of the Year, right, nationally, against Ignatius, and he's like a single wing quarterback, wasn't he? Didn't he
They were
line
running
up that
the
day?
wishbone
Yeah, but
option,
he was
and
like, it was always going to him.
Yeah, because he would have the ball in his hands the whole time. And the first series, they were running the wishbone, and he's the quarterback, and so you had to make
Boy, that
some
was something, huh?
adjustments, so you do. And okay, we won, but it was an interesting challenge. I mean, yeah, he tremendous football player, great young man. He and Joe Pickens are just like that. Friendship.
They were recruited together, weren't
yeah,
they?
Yeah, they're still great friends and
Yeah.
close. But
Do you?
great football player.
I don't get the sense that you have favorite players. You have so many players, right?
Right. That would be
I don't know
something
how you,
I wouldn't want to
I
do.
don't know how you would do it.
Right. Because there's so many characteristics that you treasure about those kids. I'd never want to put a list of something like that.
And is the
don't.
same true for teams?
I would have to say yes, because I don't think I think winning the first time is important because you open the door. Suddenly people go, you can do that.
Yeah.
So that's important. But each season was a unique novel that they were great. They had different personalities, different events that occur, and you maneuver your way through the situation, and who knows? And so I don't know if to say this one's more favored more than you had to win the first one to get going, though. There's definitely that. But to say there were 11, I'm blessed.
That's amazing. And you're turning it over to an Ignatius man.
Right. Ryan Franzinger, he played in the state championship game and played for Ohio State. And Jim Tressel was his college coach, so it's nice to have coaches that you kind of go, yeah, I bet you learned a few things from Jim. Okay. And so Ryan's been defensive coordinator for a number of years now, and it's time for him to do it. It's time for him to move up and do it, and he'll do a great job.
All right, let me ask you, I just only have a couple of questions for you. Why didn't you leave? You had offers, didn't you? And did you ever come real close?
No, okay. So it was around the Joe Pickens era, and a couple of years into it, and I get down from my English class, and this athletic secretary hands me, would you call this man back, Mr. Lou Holtz? Sure. But what am I thinking? I'm thinking, oh, well, he wants to talk about some, kids on our team, stuff like that. That happens all the time, Did you do that? Well, I did, kind of. And then he goes, well, Chuck, I'm calling about you. We have some coaches openings, and we'd like for you to interview, come and interview for it if you'd be interested in doing it. I got up that morning. I didn't know what was going. I was going to teach. I'm teaching my English class, and I'm coaching football. I never had that in my mind at all, and I'm in shock. And I go, Coach, I've never thought about this at all. And he goes, I'll tell you what. I'm going to have you call here. Write this number down. I wrote down a number. I want you to call. I think it was Joe Morris. I think is an assistant. It was a guy who was an assistant forever. And he call him and talk to him about college coaching and being an assistant and so on. Okay? And then let's talk later, see what you feel. So I called him, and the coach went into if you make this move, understand that you're probably going to move your family 10 to 12 times. And you make this move, that means you're a position coach, and now you are just staying up with wheeled crazy hours and running all over the country and to become a coordinator. And then the next thing you got to work for is trying to be a head coach. And you are running all over the country and moving your family all over the country. And right then I knew I'm not doing it. There's no way I'm doing that. No. There's someone that works for Channel 3 named Maureen Kyle. She would have not been in favor of that one, right? But not just Mo, but my wife, they wouldn't want to do that. And I'm not going to get talked out of what I always wanted to do.
Right.
Jim, I wouldn't trade a second of my life right now.
Well, that's,
No.
let me tell you, not many can say that.
No. I wouldn't.
Yeah. Will you go to Ignatius games?
Okay, I'll be way up in the corner. Picture Byers Field now, way up in the corner. Because I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy.
That's tricky.
That's tricky. And they can handle it. And maybe I'll sneak in, They won't see me, and I'll just go up. But it's okay right now.
Well, I have to tell you, as a kid that went to an all-boys Catholic high school in Boston, then I came here, and then your story started to really blossom in that program. It made me less homesick going over there.
Well, that's a good
going over
thing.
there for your pep rallies,
Oh, wow.
things like that.
Well,
I have to tell you, thanks.
oh, thank you. I mean, the coverage is,
What a ride, huh?
My wife thanks you because, she taped every single interview and everything like that. So she thank you very much. And it was wonderful the way the media just sort of.
Well, it was a great story to tell.
Yeah. It's high school football, and it was the thrill of it, the passion, and the kids just playing it because they love it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it was. Yeah. To think you can reach goals and then somehow reach them again, it's just amazing. It's an experience. Like I said, I wouldn't trade a second of what my life is, honestly. Wow. If the dear Lord wants me to do it again, I'm here. Bring me on. I'll be here in a heartbeat. I'd be back.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. That was great, man.
Okay.
What a ride.